Alright, welcome back. This is chapter 3 on financial analysis. We are in part 8. Part 8. Alright, we are looking at the third method of standardizing the financial statement. Now, this third method is actually a combination of common size and common base year. So, first you do the common size, then you do the common base year. So how do you do this? We take the value, the common size value for each item in 2018, divide that by the common size value in the base year, which is 2017. Therefore, 1.15. So you take 1.93% divided by 1.15%, you get 1.67. Note that this is also a multiple. It is a multiple. So how do you interpret this 1.67? 1.67 indicates the number of times the item, this cash item in this case, as a proportion of total assets, how much has it increased compared to the base year. Is that okay? So it means here, 1.67, it means that cash as a proportion of total assets in the year 2018 is 1.67 times that cash as a proportion of total assets value in the base year, which is 2017. Is that okay? So here it means that as a proportion of total assets, cash has increased by 68% compared to the base year. That is why it's 67, sorry, not 68, 67%. Okay, it is 1.93% in 2018. It was only 1.15% in 2017. That's quite a huge increase. Okay, so this increase in proportion is also quite substantial. Here this increase, 1.86 is greater than 1, therefore it indicates an increase in the cash item. But that is an increase in absolute term. But this is an increase in relative term, relative to total assets. Is that okay? So that's the difference here. So let's take this item. Net fixed assets. You find that it is 1.02 based on common base year measurement. 1.02 means it has increased. Net fixed asset is higher in 2018 compared to 2017. But if you look at this, it's 0.92 in combined common size and common base year. You get 0.92. How do you get this? Because here, in terms of proportion, the common size proportion, the net fixed assets was only 61.33% of total assets. But in 2017, the base year, it was 66.72%, which was higher. Now, therefore, it is lower in proportion terms. 0.92 means the value, this value here, this as a proportion, the net fixed assets as a proportion of total assets is lower than the value of net fixed assets as a proportion of total assets in the base year, which is 2017. Therefore, this indicates that it is 0.92. Again, note that this and this, they are different. Here it indicates the item, the item, whatever item here, the balance sheet item, as a multiple of the value of the item in 2017. So it is absolute value. But in this case here, in combined common size and base year method, this number 1.67 or all these numbers here, these numbers indicate the item, whatever item, as a proportion of total assets, is a multiple of the item as a proportion of total assets in the base year. So it means here, how do you interpret this 1.67? It says 1.67 here means the cash as a proportion of total assets in 2018 was 1.67 times the cash as a proportion of total assets in the base year or 2017. Yeah, so it was 1.67 times. Okay, so this indicates proportion. Yeah, okay, change in proportion. Okay, this is or in relative terms. Yeah, here it is change in absolute terms. Yeah, this indicates the multiple of the item compared to the base year. Yeah, this is a multiple of the proportion. Yeah, compared to the base year. Alright, that's the difference between the two. You can look at the values here, the individual values. Again, I have highlighted the values, okay, that are quite high. Okay, that means there is a significant increase in the proportion, of that item. The item as a proportion of total assets. Okay, but these increases are less than the absolute increases. Yeah, this is 53% increase here. There's only 37% increase in relative terms. Yeah, so here the increase in absolute terms is 39%. Here it is 25%. All right. So this is what this indicates. But note this. Yeah, this is an important feature here. Total assets will always be 1 under combined common size and common base year method. Yeah, total assets and total liabilities and equity will always be 1. Yeah, because this will always be 100%. Total liabilities and equity, doesn't matter which year, whether it's a base year or any other year, it will always be 100%. Is that okay? All right. Yeah, so this will always be 100%. Therefore, this must always be 1. Yeah. Right, yeah. So in terms of proportion, the total assets or the total liabilities and equity will not change. Yeah. All right. The other thing that should have been mentioned at the end of the last clip is that you can also do common base year for the income statement. Yeah. But since the values for the income statement, the items in the income statement are not given for the base year, which is 2017, so you cannot do that here, yeah, for this particular example, because information is not available. The income statement items values, yeah, are not given for 2017. Therefore, you cannot do it for the common base year. But if you are given that information, then you can do the common base year method for the income statement as well. Yeah. Okay. So this would be filled. Yeah. But since the information is not available, there's no. You cannot compute this. Is that okay? All right. Likewise for the combined, common size and common base year, you cannot do that because you are not given the information for 2017 for the income statement. All right. With that, we finish this particular topic. Okay. Now we move on to, we have finished the second key topic in this chapter, which is to look at the standardization, standardizing the financial statement. We have finished that. Now we move on to the third key concept in this chapter. The third key concept is about ratio analysis. Let me just move this to the center. All right. So we can move it down a little bit. Okay. All right. Ratio analysis. A ratio analysis is the third key component or key concept in this chapter. So we'll be looking at that here. So ratios allow for better comparison through time and between companies. Right. There are two types of ratio analysis. One is called time series or trend analysis. And this is one and the same. Time series or trend analysis. That means you analyze the ratio over time. So that's the first method. The second method is you compare the ratio among competing companies, different companies, so or across companies. This is called cross-sectional or peer analysis. So there are two types of ratio analysis. So here the important thing in ratio analysis is how to compute the formula. So you need to know how to compute the ratio. Okay, and the interpretation of the ratio. So these two things are important: how to calculate the ratio, and more importantly, how to interpret the ratios correctly. So that's what we're going to look at here. Okay, and we'll come back to this third point later. Ratios are useful both internally and externally, yeah, from the organization, and it's used by whom and all that we will look at in another clip. Okay, yeah, so when we talk about ratio analysis, there are a lot of ratio analysis, yeah? I mean ratios, yeah? There are many ratios that we need to learn in this chapter, but these ratios can be categorized, can be grouped into these 5 categories, yeah? The first one is called short-term solvency or liquidity ratios. The second one is long-term solvency or financial leverage ratios. Under this, you also have coverage ratios, yeah? Okay, coverage ratios come under long-term solvency. Then the third category will be asset management or turnover ratios. The fourth category will be profitability ratios, and the fifth one is market value ratios. Yeah, all right. So these are the ratios for liquidity. Yeah, liquidity category ratios. Okay. To discuss this, I think it is best to go to the Excel file. Yeah, we'll stop and we'll come back to Excel. Okay, so we have the Excel file here. Let me just drag it to the side so that you can see the full screen, okay, of the Excel file. Okay, now we go back to the same information, yeah, same company. We can close this. These are not relevant now. We can close this. We can hide. Okay, we can also hide this. Okay, we can also hide this. Yeah, we don't need that. Now we unhide these 2 columns. Alright, you have difficulty seeing the whole screen, yeah? Alright, let me just reduce this slightly. Alright, you can see it within the screen, yeah? I hope you can see it. Okay, you can't see the notes, yeah? You can hardly see the notes. Okay, let me just reduce it slightly. Alright, welcome back. Yeah, so we have this financial statement information. You have the balance sheet on top, and then you have the income statement at the bottom. Yeah, so we are using the same example, same company's financial statements, and we are going to look at the various ratios. Yeah, let's look at the ratios in the first category, which is liquidity or short-term solvency. Yeah, so what does this measure? As a whole, this liquidity measures the capacity of the firm, yeah, to meet current liabilities. Meet here means pay, yeah, pay current liabilities or operational expenses, yeah, using current assets. So there are a few key words here, yeah. So first, it measures the capacity. Capacity is one key word. Then to pay current liabilities, yeah, to pay current liabilities or to pay operational expenses. So this is the second keyword, yeah, to pay current liabilities or to pay operational expenses. Then using what? Using, this is the key, yeah, third key, which is using current assets. Okay, yeah, so under this category there are several ratios. Okay, the first one is called current ratio, yeah. Now this current ratio measures current assets as a multiple of current liabilities. It also reflects the amount of current assets to cover $1 of current liabilities. Yeah? The formula is very simple. This is a very popular ratio, current ratio, widely used ratio. Yeah? So the formula is current assets divided by current liabilities. Yeah? So for this particular example, you take the total current assets for 2018, divide this by the total current liabilities for 2018, yeah, which is here. 1995. So 2168 divided by 1995, you get this value, which is above here, current ratio 1.09. Yeah. So how do you interpret this? Yeah? The interpretation is like this. Okay, you say that the company in 2018 has current assets which are equivalent to, or which is equal to 1.09 times its current liabilities in that year. Okay, so it marks, okay, why do we call this liquidity? Liquidity means the ability to pay the current liabilities. Yeah? So if the company has this much of current liabilities, 1995, Okay, so it has slightly more current assets. Yeah, that is why it is 1.5